I'm a punk rocker and I try to be as independent and self-reliant as possible, so I'm learning how to homestead. Welcome to Punksteading. Let's get started. Hey guys, Hannah and Momo here. I wanted to talk today about why I really enjoy living small, but not necessarily minimally. So first, I wanted to get into kind of what the minimalist movement is. I think it's a really great concept, and I have taken aspects of the minimalist movement and put them into practice in my life. So essentially, I don't know if you guys heard that, but I have a canning jar of lavender oil chilling in the windowsill and it just popped. Anyway, reasons why I live small and not minimally, because there's a random jar chilling in my in my window. Anyway, you gonna cuddle, Momo? The minimalist movement is really cool because it is essentially a direct rebellion of the American dream. So, unfortunately, in my opinion, in our country, success is generally determined by the amount of stuff you have. So you have, the 2-story beautiful house, the manicured lawn, the, 2-car garage with beautiful new model cars in it, maybe a boat, maybe a jet ski, just stuff. And while I do believe that stuff is really important for happiness, especially when it's stuff you use. Again, livable wage, guys, livable wage. There does come a time when that stuff kind of becomes your identity and you lose why you bought it in the first place. So the minimalist movement is essentially just clearing out all the clutter and stuff in your life that you don't use, that's just taking up space, that's just kind of bogging you down, and just living with the stuff you need, which I think is really cool. So I've lived in, multiple places. I've never had an opportunity to really live in a gigantic house, but I've found that I really don't need to. When I have too much stuff around me, I do feel really cluttered, and I do not enjoy having stuff around me that I don't use. I just did a really big clean out the other day of not too many things, but there is a Goodwill pile that's going to Goodwill because I went through my stuff. It's like, I haven't used this in 6 months. It's going to the store. So, in that aspect, the minimalist movement is great. You as an individual can figure out what you need to survive, to live, to whatever. And a lot of people have taken this to the extremes, and kudos for them. I really enjoy watching those people because I'm very impressed. Like, they live in a teeny tiny 100-square-foot shed with no decorations, with a hot plate, and they're good. They're happy, they're thriving because they can really focus inward on themselves. Maybe they have a yoga mat, maybe yoga's their thing and they can focus on that hobby or whatever. And that's really awesome. I much admire those people who can find happiness in, essentially nothing. And I guess that's not true, but, in themselves and not the things around them. I enjoy living small because I just like cozy places. I've always enjoyed nooks, so like reading nooks or small spaces that make me feel really cozy and really tucked away, and I don't know, it just makes me feel very cozy and comfortable. If I am in a much too big area, I feel vulnerable. I feel overwhelmed, especially even with places with high vaulted ceilings. I think they're beautiful, but I do feel very out in the open. That's one of the reasons I ended up moving permanently to the Pacific Northwest, is because I needed to be surrounded by trees to feel comfortable and cozy. I lived in the desert for a little while. I lived out in Nebraska for a little while. And while the skyline is absolutely gorgeous, you really can't beat the sunrises and sunsets, guys. But I needed trees to feel comfortable and cozy and safe because I'm used to having something surrounding me. So that's reason number one why I like living small. I just like feeling cozy. And two, I enjoy living small because I love walking into my room and seeing every single thing in here reminding me of like a memory or something that's important to me. So I am part crow, I think, because I accumulate little trinkets and things like that, like a beautiful rock on a walk, or I have like a gourd over there that's been sitting over there since October. It's not rancid yet, but I worked at a harvest stand all through October, and it was so much fun. And I kept a gourd from that experience, and every time I look at it, I smile, and I'm really happy about it. But I am a tiny collector of things, so living small does make me think about what I choose and pick up and collect, and I only keep the very, very important ones. So me being able to walk into my small space and look at every single object in here and know that it has meaning and purpose really, really makes me happy. Another thing that I do that most minimalists don't is decorate my walls. And I know a lot of people think it's cluttered, and I know a lot of people think that my decorating the walls with tapestries and music and stuff like that is really immature, and that's okay. Please feel free to think like that, but I don't. I absolutely love my tapestries. This is, my pirate ship with a Kraken tapestry, and I love it because I am a pirate at heart. When I wanted, when I was a kid, I went through a phase where I wanted to be a pirate when I grew up, and I still enjoy the concept of being a pirate, screw everything, we're gonna go live in the open ocean and be extremely free. And I love the romanticized pirate stories, I suppose. I'm sure being a pirate in real life was absolutely awful, but I love the romanticized version of it, and I love having things around that remind me how much I enjoy those stories. Same with my music, like my Ramones, my Led Zeppelin. Every time I look at them, I get really happy because it reflects something I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy and have had a connection with and continue to have a connection with. I love those bands. You can't see it right now, but above every window and every door, I have photos of windows are mushrooms and doors are places that I have been. So they're just little tiny, photos you put in a little picture frame. Mine are loose and just tacked on. And every time I look at my window or above my door, I can see a mushroom that I have successfully ID'd, or a place that I have really, really enjoyed. So I love that. Just little things like that aren't minimalist. I can definitely live without my tapestries. I can definitely live without my mushroom photos and decorations on the wall. But every time I look at them, it makes me so happy, and it reminds me to enjoy that aspect of my personality. So to go out and explore and to go out and find mushrooms, because I love that aspect about myself, and I love that aspect of the world. So that's why I keep those decorations up. And that's really kind of what I want to get at. Yeah, you can live minimally, and these things don't define me, but I think they have a really good positive impact on my life. Because I am such a visual person, and because I do draw energy and positivity from my surroundings, I choose to surround myself visually with things I enjoy. This creates an extremely positive place for me. And, some of the hardcore minimalists would be like, well, you should really just create that positivity from inside and make that positivity work outward into your environment. And maybe that's true, but this is a really good compromise for me, I suppose, because it's not a gigantic space. I'm not just collecting these items willy-nilly. I am specifically picking and choosing what I bring into my small space, and it all has meaning, and it all has a positive effect on my person. That being said, I do cleanouts every 6 months or so. If I feel that my house is becoming too cluttered, if I'm accumulating too many books or whatever that I'm not reading, goes to Goodwill. Usually, and sorry mom, sorry family, right after Christmas, when people have given me a bunch of clothes, I weed out the ones that I know I won't wear. So, like, if I have my favorite flannel in the closet, I have 3 or 4 or 5 flannels in there, and people usually give me 3 or 4 or 5 flannels at Christmas. I weed out the ones that I know I won't wear, or the ones that are completely worn out and need to be replaced, or whatever. I don't keep the extra 3 or 4 or 5 flannels I got that are new, as well as the 3 or 4 or 5 that I already had. I kind of pick and choose which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to throw away. So little stuff like that. It's very, very important to do cleanouts, especially if you're in a small space, to avoid that sort of clutter. Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, right. I did want to touch on my hobbies as well as my decorations. So decorations are really important for me. Hobbies are as well. And I do a variety of different things. I enjoy being both productive and creative. So, and I don't like doing just one thing. If I only do one thing all of my free time, I end up getting bored and not as positive as I should be, or not as functional as I should be. So I like to split my time into different things. So I knit, I read, I cook, I garden, I write, I have an extensive music collection. So there's so many things. I backpack, I snowboard. So I have a plethora of hobbies, and these hobbies require things. Not too many things, and I'm not constantly buying new things to feed my hobbies. But knitting requires knitting needles and yarn, so I have to have a place to store my yarn. Gardening requires seeds and gardening tools, and you have to have a place to store all the food once it's harvested. So I do need a nice-sized pantry, or maybe a box freezer in the future, so I can freeze my stuff. I have a lot of books, so I have my little bookshelf that I try to clean out fairly regularly, but sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. I have my backpacking gear and my camping gear, which takes up space. I have my snowboard, which takes up some space. So I definitely am not living in a 100 square foot tiny house with absolutely nothing on the walls and absolutely no storage, because I need storage, because I have many, many hobbies. And that's okay. I don't want my hobbies to overwhelm my being, but at this point I feel like I'm doing fairly well. My backpacking stuff fits in one tote, my knitting stuff fits in one basket, my books are always going to fit on one bookshelf. If it spills over, I do try to do a clean out and donate to local library, or start to utilize the library more myself. My canning and my gardening I'm still figuring out because it's relatively new. But for right now, I'm doing really, really great on storage space. I do have a top shelf that's mostly empty right now, and I can utilize that space. So it's all about space utilization for me, and cleaning out things that I don't necessarily use on a day-to-day basis. For instance, books and clothes. So I hope this kind of helps you figure out if living small or living minimally is right for you. I do think you should give it a shot, and I do think there is something said about walking into a room and seeing every single item in there as either having a purpose, so it's a functional purpose, or it makes you happy, like my little gourd on the windowsill. When you start surrounding yourself with, things based on those two stipulations, I do think your life becomes a lot happier. And when you start surrounding yourself with things based on those two stipulations, you find you can let go of many, many other things. So, I don't have a lot of furniture. I have my desk and I have my bed. And I don't really need any other furniture because that's all I use. Things like that. So please I encourage you to take a look at your life and to figure out what you need, what makes you happy, what you don't need, and what, doesn't really give you any feeling at all. Alright, bye guys.
Mama, I'm gonna have to get up to turn the camera off.
Bye guys.